The galaxy had a problem with humans, not because they were dangerous. Everyone knew they were dangerous. The problem was that humans refused to act like it. For 300 years since the day the Galactic Concord first made contact with Earth, humanity had been nothing but friendly. They smiled at insults. They laughed at threats. They offered handshakes and trade deals to species that openly despised them. It confused everyone. It made no sense. Captain Jack Mercer stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Resolute and watched as yet another diplomat screamed at him through the... There were tall creatures with skin and 4 arms. They considered themselves the species in the galaxy. They also considered humans to be little more than talking animals who had somehow learned to build spaceships. "Your kind does not deserve these mining rights," the ambassador shouted. His 4 hands moved in angry patterns. You come from a planet of poison and violence. Why should we share anything with monsters?" Jack Mercer did not get angry. He never got angry. He had trained himself to stay calm no matter what anyone said. Instead, he smiled and spread his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Ambassador, I understand your concerns. Perhaps we can find a compromise that works for both our peoples. We do not want conflict. We want friendship." The ambassador made a sound of disgust and ended the transmission. Jack Mercer kept smiling until the screen went dark. Then his smile faded just a little. His first officer, a woman named Shaw, walked up beside him. "How many times does that make this month?" she asked. 17, Jack said, "but who is counting?" "I am counting," replied. "I am also counting how many times they have called us animals, monsters, and things I cannot repeat in polite company." Jack turned to face her. His eyes were tired, but his voice was steady. "We knew this would be hard. First contact was only 300 years ago. We cannot expect respect overnight. These species have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. To them, we are children." "Children they enjoy kicking," said. Jack did not argue with that. He could not argue with that. It was true. On the other side of human space, Ambassador Kate was having a similar day. She sat in the great chamber of the Galactic Concord, surrounded by representatives from 100 different species. The chamber was huge, with seats rising up in circles around a central platform. Kate stood on that platform, alone, facing judgment from creatures who had never set foot on Earth. "The human request for expanded trade routes is," the Concord speaker announced. The speaker was a species that looked like 8-foot-tall lizards with armored scales and sharp teeth. They had an empire that spanned 300 star systems. They feared nothing and no one. Kate kept her face calm. She had practiced this expression for years. "May I ask the reason for the denial?" "You may not," the speaker said. "Humans are not entitled to reasons. Humans are entitled to what we choose to give them, nothing more." Several species in the chamber laughed. Kate heard the sound and felt something twist in her chest, but she pushed that feeling down, deep down, where no one could see it. "I understand," she said. "Perhaps we can discuss this again at the next session." "Perhaps," the speaker said, "if we allow you to attend the next session." More laughter. Kate bowed her head slightly and walked out of the chamber. Her assistant, a young man named, was waiting outside. "How bad?" he asked. "The usual," Kate said. "They everything and laughed at us." His hands formed into fists at his sides. He was young, only 25 years old. He had not yet learned to hide his anger. "Why do we keep coming here? Why do we keep letting them treat us like this?" Kate stopped walking and turned to face him. "Because the alternative is worse." "Is it?" asked. "Is it really?" Kate did not answer. She could not answer. Some days she was not sure anymore. Back on Earth, in a military base buried deep underground, Admiral Cole reviewed the latest reports from the border. The news was not good. Ships had been seen in human space 3 times this month. They claimed they were lost. Everyone knew they were not lost. They were testing human defenses, looking for weakness, searching for an excuse. Commander Ben Torres sat across from the Admiral, his face hard and angry. Ben was 42 years old. He had served on the border for 15 years. He had watched human ships retreat from every confrontation, following orders that demanded peace at any cost. "They attacked another cargo ship last week," Ben said. 12 crew members dead. The captain claimed it was an accident. "I read the report," Admiral Cole said. "And what are we going to do about it?" "Nothing." Ben slammed his hand on the table. "Nothing. 12 people are dead. How many more have to die before we fight back?" Admiral Cole looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. "You think I want this? You think any of us want this? We retreat because that is the plan. We stay peaceful because that is the strategy. We are playing a long game, Commander, a very long game." "Some game," Ben said. "We are the only ones playing." The Admiral leaned forward. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Do you know why the conquered fears us even as they mock us? Do you know why they call us?" "Because of our planet," Ben said. "High gravity, extreme weather, predators everywhere." "Yes, and do you know what they think we are doing right now?" Ben shook his head. "They think we are being tamed. They think we have been civilized, domesticated, made soft by peace. They call us the tame, they laugh about it at their parties and meetings." Admiral Cole smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Let them laugh. Let them think whatever they want. Because one day, if they push us too far, they will learn the truth." "And what is the truth?" Admiral Cole stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see soldiers training, ships being built, weapons being tested. All of it hidden from alien eyes. All of it kept secret for 300 years. "The truth," he said, "is that we are not tame. We have never been tame. We are simply patient. And there is a very big difference between being weak and choosing not to fight." Ben Torres looked at the training grounds, at the hidden weapons, at the soldiers who had prepared their whole lives for a war that might never come. He understood now. He understood everything. "How long do we wait?" he asked. "As long as we have to," Admiral Cole replied. "We will smile and negotiate and retreat. We will let them call us animals and monsters and worse. We will take every insult, every attack, every humiliation. And we will keep waiting." "Until when?" The Admiral turned to face him. His eyes were cold now, cold as space itself. "Until they give us no other choice. And then, Commander, the galaxy will learn what really are." Somewhere in the stars, they were planning their next move. They did not know it yet, but they were about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. They were about to wake up the monsters they thought they had tamed. And monsters, once awakened, do not go back to sleep. The attack on New Geneva happened on a Tuesday morning. The sun was just rising over the colony's capital city. Children were walking to school. Parents were going to work. Nobody expected anything to happen. New Geneva was supposed to be safe. It was deep inside human space, far from the border, far from danger. Commander Sam Briggs was on patrol duty when the distress signal came in. He was sitting in the captain's chair of the Earth vessel Valor, drinking coffee and reading reports. It was supposed to be a quiet day. It was not. "Commander, we are receiving an emergency transmission from New Geneva," his communications officer said. Her name was Amy and her voice was shaking. "They say they are under attack." Sam put down his coffee. "Under attack by who?" "Warships, sir, at least 12 of them." Sam felt his blood turn cold. New Geneva was home to nearly 2 million people. It was one of the largest human colonies outside Earth, and they had brought 12 warships to attack it. "How far are we?" he asked. 40 minutes at maximum speed." "Make it 30. The Valor jumped to faster than light travel. Sam watched the stars blur around his ship and tried not to think about what was happening on New Geneva. He had seen what weapons could do to a planet. He had seen the burned cities and the mass graves. He did not want to see it again. When the Valor dropped out of faster-than-light travel above New Geneva, Sam Briggs saw something that would stay with him for the rest of his life. The warships were not just attacking military targets. They were bombing everything: schools, hospitals, homes. Thousands of people were already dead, and they showed no signs of stopping. "Commander, we are receiving communications from the surface," Amy said. Her face was pale. "There are civilian transports trying to escape. They are shooting them down." Sam watched a transport ship on his. It was small, built for maybe 50 passengers. It was trying to run from a destroyer that was 10 times its size. The destroyer opened fire. The transport exploded in a ball of flame. "How many people were on that ship?" Sam asked. Amy checked her readings. Her voice broke when she answered. 37, sir, mostly children. It was a school transport." Sam Briggs had been a soldier for 20 years. He had followed orders his whole life. He had retreated when told to retreat. He had stayed peaceful when told to stay peaceful. He had watched the bully and threaten and kill, and he had done nothing because those were his orders. Something changed in him at that moment. Something broke and something else took its place. He was not sure what it was. He only knew that he could not watch anymore. He could not retreat anymore. He could not be patient anymore. "All hands," he said, his voice calm and cold. "Battle stations." His crew looked at him in shock. They had never received orders to fight. Their training said to retreat and call for backup. But Sam Briggs was done with training. He was done with orders. He was done with watching children die while he did nothing. The Valor attacked the fleet alone, 1 ship against 12. Everyone on that bridge knew they would probably die. Nobody complained. Nobody asked questions. They simply did their jobs and fought with everything they had. On the surface of New Geneva, Dr. Vance was working in the main hospital when the bombs started falling. She was a doctor, trained to save lives, trained to stay calm in any situation, but nothing had prepared her for this. The hospital was filling with wounded faster than she could treat them. The screams of the dying echoed through every hallway. A mother ran into the emergency room carrying a child. The child was maybe 6 years old. She had hair and blue eyes, and she was not moving. "Please," the mother screamed. "Please save her, please." Took the child and examined her quickly. The injuries were too severe. There was nothing she could do. The child died in her arms 3 minutes later. Had seen death before. She had lost patience before. But something about this death was different. This was not an accident. This was not a disease. This was murder. They had killed this child for no reason. They had killed her because they could, because they wanted to, because they thought humans would not fight back. Handed the child's body back to her mother. Her hands were covered in blood. Her eyes were dry and empty. "I am sorry," she said. "I am so sorry." The mother collapsed on the floor, holding her dead daughter and crying. Stood there for a moment, looking down at them. Then she turned and walked back to work. There were more wounded coming. There were always more wounded. But something had changed in Vance. The softness that had defined her career was gone. In its place was something hard and cold and very, very angry. On Earth, Admiral Cole received the news in his underground command center. He watched the footage from New Geneva without speaking. He saw the burning cities. He saw the fleeing civilians. He saw the school transport explode with 37 children inside. His aide, a young officer named Chris, stood beside him. "Sir, what are your orders?" Admiral Cole was silent for a long time. He was thinking about 300 years of patience, 300 years of smiles and handshakes and peaceful retreats, 300 years of being called animals and monsters while keeping their true power hidden. They had finally gone too far. They had attacked a civilian colony. They had killed children. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. "Open a secure channel to all military commands," Admiral Cole said. His voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. "Send the following message. Activate Protocol Omega." Chris' eyes went wide. He knew what Protocol Omega meant. Every officer in the military knew, even though nobody ever talked about it. It was the plan for the day when peace was no longer possible. The plan for the day when humanity would stop playing nice. "Sir, are you sure?" Chris asked. "I am sure," Admiral Cole replied. "Send the message." Across human space, sealed orders were opened for the first time. Ships that had been designed as explorers revealed hidden weapon systems. Factories that made consumer goods switched to military production in a matter of hours. Soldiers who had trained in secret their whole lives finally received the call they had been waiting for. Ambassador Kate was on a transport ship heading back to Earth when she heard the news. She sat alone in her cabin and watched the footage from New Geneva. She thought about all the years she had spent building bridges with alien species, all the insults she had swallowed, all the compromises she had made. For what? For this? Kate had believed in peace. She had dedicated her life to it. But watching those children die, watching the laugh as they killed innocent people, she understood that some things could not be solved with words. Some things required action. She wrote a letter of resignation that night. It was short and simple. She thanked the diplomatic corps for the opportunity to serve. She wished them well in the future. And then she wrote one final sentence. "I am done pretending that kindness will save us." The Galactic Concord received one final diplomatic message from humanity that day. It came from Earth itself, signed by every member of the human government. It was broadcast on all channels in all languages to every species in the galaxy. The message contained only 3 words: "We are done." The commanders laughed when they read it. They thought it was a bluff. They thought the Tame were just making noise, trying to sound tough before they retreated again. They were wrong. In shipyards hidden throughout human space, warships were launching. Real warships, not the slow and weak vessels humanity had shown the galaxy. These ships were fast and deadly, built with technology that no alien species had ever seen. They had been waiting in secret for 300 years. Now they were awake, and they were hungry for revenge. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. They had poked the bear one too many times. They had kicked the sleeping giant until it woke up. They had made the one mistake that no species should ever make. They had given them a reason to stop being nice. And now everyone was going to pay the price. The border station Nexus Prime was the largest military base in the sector. It had 300 warships, 50,000 soldiers and weapon systems that could destroy a small moon. The commander, a massive warrior named, believed his station was unbreakable. He believed no force in the galaxy could touch him. He was wrong. A single human vessel appeared on his sensors at 600 hours. It was called the Fury, and it was commanded by Captain Marsh. The ship was small compared to warships. It looked old and weak, laughed when he saw it. "One ship," he said to his officers. "The humans send one ship against Nexus Prime. Have they gone mad?" His tactical officer, a younger named, studied the readings with a frown. "Commander, there is something strange about this vessel. Its energy readings are unlike anything in our database." "It does not matter," said. "One ship cannot defeat 300. Send 20 destroyers to eliminate it. Make an example of these foolish humans." 20 destroyers moved to intercept the Fury. They formed a perfect attack formation, their weapons charged and ready. The battle should have been over in seconds. It was over in seconds, just not the way they expected. The Fury began to accelerate, not the slow, careful acceleration that alien ships used. This was something else entirely. The human vessel shot forward at speeds that should have been impossible. It moved so fast that targeting systems could not track it. Captain Marsh sat in his command chair and smiled. He had waited his entire life for this moment. Every human officer had. They had trained in secret, hiding their true abilities, pretending to be weak and slow. Now, finally, they could show the galaxy what we're really capable of. "Lieutenant," he said, "weapons free." Lieutenant was 28 years old. She had joined the military because she believed in protecting innocent people. She had watched the footage from New Geneva 17 times. She had memorized the faces of the 37 children who died on that school transport. "Yes, sir," she said. Her hands moved across the weapons console with perfect precision. The Fury's guns opened fire, and the galaxy learned a terrible truth. Human weapons were not weak. They had never been weak. Humanity had simply been hiding their real technology, waiting for the day when they would need it. Plasma beams cut through shields like they were made of paper. Kinetic rounds punched holes through armored hulls. In less than a minute, all 20 destroyers were drifting wreckage. Watched the destruction with his mouth hanging open. He could not believe what he was seeing. These were humans. Humans were supposed to be slow and soft and easy to defeat. Humans were supposed to retreat and negotiate and beg for mercy. These humans were doing none of those things. "All ships attack," screamed. "Destroy that vessel." The entire fleet at Nexus Prime moved to engage the Fury. 280 warships against one human vessel. The odds were impossible. Victory was certain. But then more human ships arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 10 ships, then 50, then 100. Each one was faster and more powerful than anything they had ever seen. Each one was crewed by humans who had been waiting 300 years for this moment. Commander Ben Torres led the second wave. His ship, the Vengeance, took position beside the Fury. He looked at the fleet on his and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "This is for New Geneva," he said quietly. Then louder, "All ships engage." The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, the fleet was gone. 300 warships, 50,000 soldiers, all destroyed or captured. Nexus Prime fell 6 hours later. The defenders fought hard, but they were not prepared for what they faced. They were not prepared for humans. General Cross led the ground assault. He was 55 years old, a veteran of 100 training exercises but no real combat. That changed today. He walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime at the head of his soldiers, his face hard and his eyes empty. The soldiers they encountered were bigger, stronger, and more heavily armed. It did not matter. Humans were faster. Humans were smarter. Humans had evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill them. Most importantly, humans were angry. "Surrender or die," General Cross told every unit they encountered. Some surrendered. Some did not. Those who did not learn that human soldiers did not miss. Back on Earth, Lisa Park coordinated the entire campaign from a control room deep beneath the mountains. She was 39 years old, a military strategist who had spent 20 years studying alien tactics. She knew every weakness in the defense network. She knew every mistake they would make before they made it. "They are reinforcing their home sector," she said into her communicator. "They expect us to pause and consolidate. They are wrong. Send the 3rd Fleet to cut off their supply lines. Send the 4th Fleet to take out their communication stations. Do not give them time to breathe." Across known space, human fleets appeared like ghosts. They struck fast and hard, then disappeared before they could respond. Colonies fell. Stations were captured. The empire, which had stood for 6,000 years, began to crumble. Admiral Cole watched the reports come in from his command center on Earth. Each victory was another step toward justice. Each fallen stronghold was revenge for the children of New Geneva. But he took no pleasure in it. This was not a game. This was not sport. This was the terrible price of pushing a peaceful species too far. "Sir, the High Command is requesting negotiations," his aide reported. Admiral Cole shook his head. "No negotiations. Not yet. They need to understand what they have done. They need to understand that actions have consequences." "How long do we continue?" "Until they surrender unconditionally. until every commander who ordered the attack on New Geneva is brought to justice, until the galaxy understands that you do not attack human children and walk away. Dr. Vance was assigned to a field hospital behind the advancing human lines. She treated wounded soldiers, both human and, even now, even after everything, she could not stop being a healer. It was who she was. A wounded soldier looked up at her from his bed. His scales were cracked and his breathing was weak. He had fought against the human assault and lost. "Why?" he asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "Why are you saving me? We killed your people." Finished treating his wounds before she answered. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. "Because we are not like you," she said. "We fight when we have to, we kill when we have no choice, but we do not enjoy it. We do not take pleasure in suffering. That is the difference between us." The soldier was silent for a long time. Then he said something that surprised her. "We were wrong about you. We thought you were weak because you showed mercy. We did not understand." "No," agreed. "You did not understand. Mercy is not weakness. Kindness is not stupidity. We chose to be peaceful. We could have been something else." "I see that now," the soldier said. "I think the whole galaxy sees it now." He was right. Across known space, every species watched the war with growing horror. The humans they had mocked and insulted and exploited were not weak. They had never been weak. They had been holding back, restraining themselves, giving the galaxy chance after chance to treat them fairly. The galaxy had failed, and now the galaxy was learning what happens when you push too far. 3 weeks after the attack on New Geneva, the Empire surrendered unconditionally. Their fleet was destroyed. Their colonies were occupied. Their leaders were arrested and put on trial for war crimes. The war was over. Humanity had won. But everyone knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The smiles were the same. The handshakes were the same. The offers of peace and friendship were the same. But now, behind every smile, every handshake, every offer, there was a warning. Do not make us do this again. Do not force us to become what we can become. We showed you what we are capable of. Do not make us show you again. The Galactic Concord called an emergency session 1 month after the fall of the Empire. Every species sent their highest representatives. Every seat in the Great Chamber was filled. The air was thick with fear and confusion. For 6,000 years, they had been one of the most powerful empires in known space. They had 300 star systems, millions of soldiers and weapons that could crack planets in half. Now they were gone, destroyed in 3 weeks by a species everyone had called tame. The conquered speaker, a tall named consul, stood at the center of the chamber. His 4 hands were shaking. He had spent his career insulting humans, denying their requests, calling them animals. Now he understood how close he had come to sharing this fate. "This session is called to discuss the recent conflict between humanity and the Empire," he announced. His voice echoed through the silent chamber. "The human ambassador has requested time to address the conquered." Ambassador Kate walked to the central platform. She looked different than the last time she had stood here. Her clothes were black. Her face was hard. The warmth that had once defined her was gone, replaced by something cold and final. Every eye in the chamber was on her. Every species waited to hear what she would say. Would humanity demand revenge? Would they attack other species who had wronged them? Would they destroy the entire conquered? Kate looked around the chamber slowly. She remembered every insult, every request, every time she had been laughed at, dismissed, treated like an animal. She remembered it all. Then she began to speak. 300 years ago, humanity joined the galactic community. We came with open hands and open hearts. We wanted peace. We wanted friendship. We wanted to be part of something greater than ourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. We were treated like monsters. We were called animals. We were rights that every other species took for granted. Our ships were attacked. Our people were killed. Our requests were ignored. Several representatives shifted in their seats. They remembered doing exactly what she described. They remembered laughing about it afterward. We endured this treatment for 300 years. We smiled through insults. We negotiated through threats. We retreated from attacks because we believed that peace was worth any price. Kate's voice grew harder. They proved us wrong. They attacked a civilian colony. They killed 200,000 innocent people. They destroyed a school transport filled with children, and they laughed while they did it. The chamber was completely silent. Some representatives could not meet her eyes. We did not want war. We have never wanted war. But when you attack our children, when you bomb our homes, when you give us no choice, we will fight. And now you have seen what we are capable of. She let those words hang in the air for a long moment. I am not here to threaten you. I am not here to demand revenge against every species that has wronged us. They pushed us too far and they paid the price. That is the end of it. Several representatives let out breaths they had been holding. They had expected demands, threats, ultimatums. They had not expected mercy. But Kate continued, and the word cut through the chamber like a knife. Let this be a lesson. We are not tame. We have never been tame. We are patient. We are kind. We choose peace because we believe in peace. But do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not test our patience again. She looked directly at Consul. Thus 4 hands were trembling. We will return to diplomacy. We will return to trade and friendship and cooperation. But things will be different now. We will be treated as equals, or we will not be treated at all. The days of insulting humanity and facing no consequences are over. Commander Ben Torres watched the speech from his ship in orbit around former space. His fleet was maintaining order in the occupied territories, ensuring that the surrender terms were followed. It was strange work for a soldier who had spent his career retreating from every fight. His first officer, a young woman named Maria Santos, stood beside him. "Do you think they will listen?" she asked. Ben shrugged. "They will listen or they will learn. Either way, we are done being kicked." On the surface of Prime, General Cross was overseeing the peacekeeping operation. The population was scared and confused. Their empire had collapsed overnight. Their leaders were in prison. Their entire worldview had been shattered. One of his soldiers brought a civilian to him. The civilian was old, his scales and worn. He looked at General Cross with eyes that had seen too much. "Why do you not kill us all?" the old asked. "We would have killed all of you. We tried to kill all of you." General Cross looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because we are not you. We fight to protect our people, not to destroy yours. The war is over. Your leaders who ordered the attack on New Geneva will face justice. The rest of you will be left in peace." "Why?" the old asked again. He seemed unable to understand. "Because that is who we are. We do not enjoy killing. We do not take pleasure in suffering. We did what we had to do, and now we will help you rebuild." The old shook his head slowly. "You are strange creatures. We spent centuries calling you monsters, and you are the least monstrous species we have ever met." Back at the Concord, Kate was finishing her address. "Humanity offers friendship to any species that wants it. We offer trade, cooperation, and mutual respect. What we do not offer is surrender. What we do not accept is abuse. Treat us as equals, and we will be the best allies you could ever hope for. Treat us as animals, and you will learn why are called." She stepped back from the platform. The chamber was silent for several long seconds. Then Consul rose to speak. "The Concord thanks the human ambassador for her words," he said. His voice was much softer than it had ever been before. "We acknowledge that humanity has been treated unfairly. We recognize that this treatment was wrong. We commit ourselves to building a new relationship based on mutual respect and equality." It was the first genuine apology humanity had ever received from the Concord. It would not be the last. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The Dominion all-territorial claims against human space and offered new trade agreements with terms that were actually fair. The crystalline hegemony sent formal apologies for past insults, along with gifts and offers of cultural exchange. Every species that had ever bullied or threatened humanity suddenly discovered urgent reasons to be friendly. Some of this was fear. Everyone had seen what human weapons could do. Everyone had watched the empire crumble in 3 weeks. Nobody wanted to be next. But some of it was genuine respect. The galaxy had finally seen what humans really were, not weak creatures who smiled because they had no choice, not tame who had been domesticated by civilization. They were a patient, kind species who had chosen peace but were capable of war. That combination was more terrifying than any weapon. Admiral Cole gave one interview during this time. A journalist asked him if humanity would seek revenge against other species who had wronged them. "We are not monsters," the admiral replied. "We never wanted any of this. They attacked our children and we responded. That is the end of it. But let this be a lesson to everyone. We were kind because we chose to be kind. We are capable of being something else. Never make us show you that side again." The journalist nodded and asked one final question. "What do you want humans to be known for?" Admiral Cole thought for a moment. "I want us to be known as friends, allies, partners. I want the galaxy to remember that we tried for 300 years to build peace. I want them to know that even after the war, we went back to diplomacy. We helped rebuild what we destroyed. We showed mercy to our enemies." He paused. "But I also want them to remember that you do not push too far, because we showed the galaxy something important. We showed them that the kindest species in the universe can become the most dangerous when you threaten what they love." The interview was broadcast across known space. It was translated into every language. Every species heard the message loud and clear. Humanity had stopped playing nice just once, and the galaxy would never, ever forget. 5 years had passed since the war. The galaxy was a different place now, not just because of the destroyed empire or the redrawn borders. It was different because everyone finally understood what humans really were. Captain Jack Mercer returned to diplomacy after the war. He sat at the same negotiating tables, met with the same alien species, discussed the same trade agreements, but everything felt different. When he entered a room, nobody laughed at him. Nobody called him an animal or dismissed his requests. They listened. They respected him. They treated him as an equal. A trade minister was visiting his ship to finalize a new mining agreement. The terms were fair to both sides. The negotiations took 3 days instead of 3 months. There was no screaming, no insults, no demands for one-sided deals. "This is very different from how things used to be," Jack said as they signed the final documents. The minister nodded. His 4 hands were folded politely in front of him. "Yes, we have learned much in the past 5 years. We have learned that respect is better than fear and cooperation is better than exploitation." "Did it take a war to teach you that?" The minister was quiet for a moment. "I am ashamed to say that it did. We thought we knew everything about humanity. We thought you were weak because you chose peace. We were wrong about many things." Jack Mercer looked out the window at the stars. He thought about all the years of insults, all the retreats, all the times he had smiled through pain because those were his orders. He thought about how close the galaxy had come to real destruction. "I hope we never have to teach that lesson again," he said. "So do we," the minister replied. "Believe me, so do we." On New Geneva, they had built a memorial to the victims of the attack. It was a simple structure made of white stone, with the names of every person who had died carved into its walls. At the center was a smaller monument listing the 37 children from the school transport. Commander Sam Briggs visited every year on the anniversary. He stood in front of the memorial and read every name, one by one. It took hours. He did not mind. His crew from the Valor stood with him. Amy, who had been his communications officer during the battle, was now a captain herself. She had her own ship, her own crew, her own responsibilities, but she always came back for the anniversary. "I still see them sometimes," Sam said quietly. "The transport, the explosion, I close my eyes and it is right there." "I know," Amy replied. "I see it too." "Does it ever get easier?" Amy thought about the question for a long time. "No, but I do not want it to get easier. I want to remember. I want to remember why we fight and why we hope we never have to fight again." Kate had written her memoirs after the war. She called the book The Long Patience. It told the story of 300 years of human diplomacy, the insults and compromises and desperate hopes for peace. It also told the story of the day that hope died and what humanity had to become. The book was translated into every language in the galaxy. It became required reading at diplomatic academies on 100 different worlds. Alien students learned about human history, human patience, and human capacity for both kindness and war. Kate was invited to speak at the Galactic Concord 5 years after the war. She stood on the same platform where she had once been laughed at, and she looked out at faces that now watched her with respect. "I spent my life building bridges," she said. "I believed that if we just tried hard enough, if we were just patient enough, the galaxy would learn to accept us. I was right about some things and wrong about others." She paused. "I was right that peace was possible. I was right that cooperation could work. I was wrong to think that peace meant accepting abuse. I was wrong to think that kindness meant surrendering our dignity." She looked around the chamber, meeting eyes from a dozen different species. "The lesson of the war is not that violence solves problems. The lesson is that peace requires respect from both sides. You cannot have true friendship when one party is being exploited and insulted. You cannot have real cooperation when one species treats another as inferior." Several representatives nodded. They had learned this lesson the hard way. Humanity will always prefer peace. We will always extend the hand of friendship first, but we will never again accept being treated as less than equal. And if anyone threatens our children, our homes, our people, we will respond as respond. Dr. Vance had established a medical exchange program after the war. Human doctors worked in hospitals. Doctors studied on Earth. It was slow work, healing the wounds between their species, but believed it was the only path forward. A young medical student visited her office one afternoon. He was the son of a soldier who had fought against humanity during the war. His father had been killed in the battle for Nexus Prime. "Why are you helping us?" the student asked. "My father tried to destroy your colony. He killed your people. Why do you not hate us?" Looked at the young for a long moment. He was barely an adult by his species standards. He had not chosen the war. He had not chosen his father's actions. He was just trying to understand a universe that no longer made sense to him. "I did hate for a while," she admitted. "After New Geneva, after the children, I felt nothing but anger. It would have been easy to let that anger consume me. It would have been easy to want revenge against all forever. But you did not." "No, because hate does not heal anything. Revenge does not bring back the dead. The only way forward is to build something better than what came before." The young student was quiet for a moment. "My people thought humans were monsters. We thought you were dangerous animals who had to be controlled or destroyed. And now I think you might be the species in the galaxy, not because you are peaceful, but because you understand when peace is possible and when it is not. You understand that kindness is a choice, and that some choices require strength." Smiled sadly. "We are not wise. We are just trying to survive like everyone else. We make mistakes. We have regrets, but we keep trying to be better. That is all anyone can do." General Cross retired to a small farm after the war. He grew vegetables and raised animals and tried very hard not to think about what he had done. He had killed a lot of on Nexus Prime. They had been enemies, soldiers who would have killed him given the chance, but they were still dead because of him. Young soldiers sometimes visited his farm. They wanted to hear stories about the war, to learn from the general who had led the ground assault against the mightiest empire in the sector. He always told them the same thing. Be kind, be patient, be the person you want to be. Do not start fights. Do not go looking for trouble, but never forget what you are capable of when kindness fails, and never let anyone mistake your gentleness for weakness. One young soldier asked him if he was proud of what he had done. The general was quiet for a long time. No, I am not proud. I did what I had to do to protect my people. I would do it again if I had to. But pride is not what I feel. I feel sad that it was necessary. I feel angry that the forced our hand. I feel tired from carrying the weight of so many deaths. He looked at the young soldier with old eyes. That is what war really is. It is not glory or honor or pride. It is doing terrible things because someone gave you no other choice. The best thing you can do is work to make sure you never have to make that choice. Build peace. Build friendship. Build a galaxy where nobody has to become what I became. The galaxy had changed in the 5 years since the war. Humanity was no longer mocked or insulted. They were treated as equals, partners, friends. But behind every handshake there was a memory. Behind every smile there was a warning. Somewhere in the archives of the Galactic Concord, a single file remained classified at the highest level. It contained everything known about humanity's military capabilities, their hidden technologies, their true strategic reserves. The file was marked with a simple warning. Do not open unless absolutely necessary. The contents represent what humanity is willing to become. Pray you never give them a reason. The galaxy heeded that warning, and for the first time in history were treated exactly as they should have been from the very beginning. As equals, as friends, as the most terrifying allies anyone could ever hope to have. The day stopped playing nice had passed, but its lesson would echo through history forever. Be kind to those who are kind to you. Treat others with respect. And never, ever attack the children of a species that evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill them. Because if you push them far enough, they will remember what they really are. And by then, it will be far too late.